Grabando. Yes, it is recording now.
Okay, we are recording. This is The Blind Man in Black. We are in our second episode, and this is part 2 with deprofessionalized intellectual activist, advisor to the Zapatistas, Gustavo Esteva. Thank you once again for being with me. I am deeply honored and grateful that you're here. How are you?
I am very well, Brian, in this very special moment. I am well. How are you?
I am fucking exhausted and angry and frustrated, and I don't even know how to begin. I will say this, and now here we go again. My computer's doing this thing here where it's okay. Now it should be all right. So yeah, I want to apologize to the my family and the one friend that was listening to the last episode that I am so rusty. It's been so long since I've done this, and no one would know that I had any professional training in acting and broadcasting or anything like that based on my last our last interview. And I apologize to you and everyone. I am so fucking rusty. It's unbelievable. I mean, I was listening and I was like, how many fucking times am I going to say, yeah, yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. And well, I think it just speaks to just my exhaustion. You know, I wanted to start this project many years ago in some form or another, and trying to cope with this loss of blindness and not loss of blindness, but loss of eyesight and hearing. I've been delaying things, trying to make things, I want to do things in a way that's perfect. And just in an attempt to do that, I fucked myself and have waited so long. And now I'm in a place where I'm working full time, and it's very stressful. I'm hearing a lot of misery every day. And I don't want to wait anymore. I just want to do this and just have an opportunity to share stories like your stories and those that are doing things to create a more beautiful, just, loving, and peaceful world. And this, it's just insane that this is happening now, beginning this project, and feeling so fucking exhausted from everything, from COVID-19, from my work. I have to work a 9 to 5 while I'm on call 24 hours a day. And just trying to manage everything in the midst of all this chaos. And I know I'm not alone. I know that everybody is experiencing, exhaustion or frustration because of isolation, and just the political unrest and the social injustice and the violence that is happening. Like it's insane. Even in my little community, Nevada City, we had a Black Lives Matter march a few weekends ago. I don't know, it was a month now. I don't remember how long ago, but during the march, it was a peaceful march. Everything was going really, really well. And then these group of men, like I heard they were massive men that were basically trying to disrupt the march, and under the banner of patriotism and Blue Lives Matter. And they started getting physical with the Black Lives Matter march participants, and started they were pushing, like, these 50 and 40-year-old men were pushing these 14-year-old girls, and they pushed one of the city council members to the ground. She was riding her bike. It's just insane, the level of violence and injustice that's happening right now. And I don't know what to say. I'm trying to transform. What's that?
Just what you are saying, that is what you must say, that this is insane, and that you are exhausted and you are frustrated and you are angry. You must be angry. It is the time to be angry. This is a very, very special moment in humankind. and we are not reacting in the right way, because we are not. It is as if we are denying that we are in this very special moment, and then we are foolishly accepting very foolish instructions and very foolish statements and all kind of insane, very insane things. And of course you are frustrated. Of course you are exhausted, like many other people on earth, Brian. Um, it is just an expression of sensitivity. It is not something happening to you. Of course, there is something happening to you. I can see that you can be very impatient with your new ineptitude because of your eyes, because of your limitations, your disabilities. That is special. That is unique, because there are not many people losing their sight around the world after seeing their whole life. But this is unique. But this is unique in a context that is very, very, very general. We need to
Yeah,
be.
it feels, you know, in one sense, it's a strange thing to be, and I wrote about this in an article one time when I was living in Central California. You know, I experienced, you know, climate change firsthand. I watched all these trees, you know, in the mountains of Central California, all of them die due to bark beetles or pathogen, and it's a simultaneously losing my eyesight. It was fucking weird. I mean, to see the world disappearing, see the world dying, and then my eyes are dying, and just, I mean, it's been a strange existence to be experiencing all of this at the same time. I know it's not unheard of or completely uncommon. I mean, there are a lot of people that are losing their eyesight right now, and hearing or whatever, or experiencing some other type of loss, whether it be a disability or just losing. I mean, people are, you know, people are dying, there's suicide, you know, there's people drug overdoses. It's just, it's incredible the amount of misery that is happening on just multiple levels. And I a part of me is like, you know, we lived in this paradigm, this capitalist paradigm, and I remember just thinking, even before COVID-19, I said, it's so strange to see everything just falling apart and experiencing the collapse of everything, but everything still keeps going. Everybody's acting as if it's normal, or acting strangely on social media, but that's the new normal, and just the you know, I don't know. I just I wish that I want this project to be entertaining and humorous and engaging for those that are listening and watching. And it's so fucking frustrating to try to do something like this and not be in a place where I know where I can be, as you know, when I used to act and direct and do it in such a way that is humorous and fun and clear-headed. I can't even fucking think straight. I don't remember half the things I do every day. I have to do reports and stuff like this and say what I've done for the day, and I can't even remember what the fuck I did all day. And I'm like, and I'm constantly going to myself. I go, oh shit, I didn't remember to do this, and then I look and I'm like, oh, I did do that, and it's just like, uh, you know, it's that overload of too much of shit, and like just the political stuff, the you know, the hearing everybody's frustration and the violence that's breaking out. It's just I don't know. I mean, I don't like saying this is too much. I can't handle this. You know, I've heard a lot of people, you know, even in my own family, that that was kind of a theme. I can't handle this. I can't do this. You know, kind of thing. And it's just like, I think for myself, I can't say that anymore. I gotta say, yes, I can get through this. I can endure this. Because I have to. I mean, in a sense, we all have to. We all have to be resilient and get through whatever this fucking thing is, the COVID, the social injustice, the, you know, the economic elite are just taking everything and telling everybody to fuck off, and that's it. By the way, did you watch on Netflix the Jeffrey Epstein documentary about his kind of his rise and fall?
And not really. I could not really open it.
Oh, okay.
I am in trouble with the mechanical things, with my electronic system. My computer was in the hospital for a week, and then every kind of things have been
Did
happening
your
with.
computer get COVID? Is that what happened?
Yes, yes, it is very clear. It was fever, and then he was with a lot of respiratory problems. Then
Do
just
you know
came.
people can't smell and hear now, even after they get COVID? And I just thought about this. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't hear, I can't see. And if I get COVID, I'm not going to be able to smell or taste anything.
This is one of the first symptoms that you cannot smell if you got COVID.
No. I was listening to another podcast. I think it was Mark Maron, and he was interviewing an actor, J.K. Simmons, and J.K. Simmons was talking about his son's friend who got COVID, and he's this is months ago, and he still can't smell or taste anything.
Hmm.
I mean, that's insane.
Well, the question is that we are foolishly concentrated in a few figures. Of course, we can feel the misery of people dying and all the parents and the people losing a son or losing a wife or losing someone. But we are not we must not take seriously the figures they are selling to us. It is absolutely absurd to concentrate on that. It is.
What do you mean? Are you talking about the data that they're saying about how many people are dying and are sick?
Let's say, for example, the last year in 2019, people died of traffic accidents twice as much as with COVID. Can you imagine a big global campaign because of this? And of course, perhaps let's imagine a confinement of cars. It should be glorious. Should be fantastic. That the world will change. If we say, oh, because we have so many traffic accidents, so many people dying with traffic accidents, twice as much that with COVID, twice as much, Brian, meaning for every person that died of COVID in the first semester of this year, 2 people died last year because of traffic accidents. And did you hear any campaign about that? Any discussion, any public discussion, or a report, a daily report telling you, oh, these many people are died today because of traffic accidents? No news. That was no news. That was normal.
Well,
Um,
I mean, I think I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just that statistic is probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's probably correct. I know that more people are likely to die in a car accident than flying, and I get that. I think people love driving. I used to like driving when I could see. It was very convenient. Now it's much more isolating to me, and I've lost that sense of control to be able to go places. But it is better for the environment that I'm not driving. So that's one benefit. But yeah, I don't know. I I feel like we should take it seriously because I mean I know people that are affected by it, and people are dying. I know for a fact that they are. It's just but but the thing is when you
are
get into
you
that,
are,
but
are you
wait a
really
second.
convinced that they are dying of COVID?
Say that again.
Are you really convinced that all these deaths are associated with COVID?
Um, Are you talking the respiratory related deaths? Yeah, I think they are. I mean, I know because my wife works at a mortuary. I know she's getting them. So I mean, she sees them. Um, so I mean, it's happening, and I think it's a kind of weird place to get into about relating one death type versus another, because then you start getting into this area of getting into another discussion. Well, we shouldn't, we should keep moving on as things are normal. And then you get in
No,
the
they are
idea of it
not
because,
normal. That is a different argument. We can discuss, that is a technical discussion that is happening today. People are died with COVID, not of COVID, meaning the cause of death attributed to COVID is not clear that it is because of COVID or it is because of something else. Apparently, more than 99% of the people that died had had other comorbid conditions that may have produced the death. But that is a technical discussion. That is something that it's worth discussing. It is important to discuss that. What is really happening with the virus? What is really how they created this fear of the virus? What is really the meaning of the virus? What is the implications of the virus? We need to take very seriously the virus. It is a real threat, but at the same time, we need to discover how to react and to react in a living way and with humor. And one of the main problems when you are covering your mouth that you are not seeing the people smile. That is not human, Brian.
yeah, I know, but my understanding, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, and I don't know. I mean, I don't even have fucking time to research all the data and statistics on this stuff because I'm working 50 hours a week or more, in my work. And I have I truthfully, I don't even know what the fuck's going on right now because I don't even have time to look at the news. And the few minutes that I have at the end of the day is just literally I have 20 minutes between when I get into the bed and before I go to sleep to try to unwind. And then, because you know what I'm saying? So I just don't know everything that's going on. And I need to admit that. But my concern is, from what I do know, is that wearing masks is important because it's because of the droplets that are, expelled from either coughing, sneezing, even speaking, just from speaking and spit droplets, and the aerosols. So I believe that that's real based on everything that the evidence that I've heard. And I feel like when people were wearing masks, the numbers were going down. It's when you have these group of anti-mask people that don't want to wear it at all, that's when the numbers start going up. And I saw it in my county. They had a party here. A very wealthy person invited people from all over California to come to his or her, I don't know who it was, his or her house up here, their mansion. And it was like a party. And then suddenly we had an explosion of cases and we didn't before that, you know? And that's the thing that I'm seeing here. People, when everybody was wearing masks, we were doing okay. And then when people started to get upset about it and getting inconvenienced by wearing masks because they don't want to, then the numbers start going up. And so I don't know.
You can have all kind of stories, and I am not saying I'm not anti-masks. I am not saying campaigning to avoid masks, etc. And you can have all kind of experiences, all kind of cases now in the world. This is one of the things that we must know, that we are misinformed systematically, because any kind of argument, you can have any kind of argument. People wearing masks all the time and the infection grows. And people taking off the masks and the invasions is reduced. You can have all kind of experiences. then we don't know. When you are saying, yes, we need to take care because you can infect others if you are infected, that is one of the reasons to reflect. First of all, 80%, apparently this is one of the figures that we need to take into consideration. 80% of the people infected does not know they are infected because they had no symptom at all. 80%. And 15% have a kind of cold, not a very serious cold, a kind of cold. And only 5% of the people are seriously affected. And only 1% of the people are in danger of dying. And most of those in danger of dying have serious conditions because of old age, because of diabetes, because of hypertension. But I think this is a very boring conversation, Brian. This is not the kind of conversation that we should be having, discussing that kind of things.
Well,
Because what we
my only concern is, I just don't, what I worry about, and this is the general discussion that happens all the time, is then it turns into, well, these are old people, these are people with underlying health conditions. It doesn't, they're going to, basically, some people say, well, it's going to, they're going to go anyway. So, it's not that important. And then I start thinking, well, who has the right to judge that? People want to exist, and no matter whatever their quality of life is, if they feel like,
how you change the conversation? We were not discussing that.
no. What I'm just saying is that my concern is that's the road that we go on. You know what I mean? Is that it goes into that kind of discussion.
Why? That is a different kind of morality. If you can think like that and feel like that, that is the problem that we must discuss. If a person says, well, they are going to die anyway, then you need to discuss immediately what kind of morality has this person, how kind of humanity has this person, how he's shaped that specific way, with COVID or without COVID, how a person can say that, how a person can be in that specific way, what kind of feelings is he having. That is the important point, not COVID anymore.
No. I'm with you. What I'm concerned about is for those that are listening, if they're hearing you say, wearing masks, if we wear them, we can't see people smile. It may get the idea that some people are thinking, oh, well, we shouldn't be wearing masks. And
no, that is the wrong reaction. That is a mechanical reaction to the propaganda now spread around the world. What I am saying is what we need to do today, every minute, it is to see how we can interact with others, how we can intensify our interaction with others. And that requires seeing them smile, seeing them real, seeing them not with a mask. And that is who we should be studying and exploring the conditions in which we can do that, exactly that. I can tell you that immediately. For example, in Oaxaca today, like in many other parts of the world, the women, that women are in revolt after March 8, since March 8. And then the women are preparing all kind of mischiefs for the end of the month. And they are having meetings all the time. And they create the conditions to have a joyful meeting and to dance and to laugh and to enjoy themselves without losing precautions, just taking precautions and doing the right kind of things. Let me say this. Our position, the position of many people in my world, is let's take this very seriously. The threat is real. The virus is real. This is not irrelevant. We must consider this. But this is only one of the things happening today in the world that are very serious, tragic, dramatic. We are in the most serious crisis of at least the last 100 years, or perhaps of the history of humankind. Not because of COVID, before COVID, in December 2019, we were already in that kind of crisis, and we were not seeing it. And what you are saying, it's part, you know this, it's Mr. Freud, that the first reaction of many people is denial. It's a protection. If something creates anxiety, if something creates concern, you deny it. It is not happening. Let's forget it's not happening. And that is the reaction of many people saying not wearing masks and this kind of behavior. What we need to be thinking is this is a very serious crisis, and it has some elements of total war, has some elements of dramatic conditions without precedents in history. And what we need to do is how to find the opportunity to laugh, yes, to be humorous, yes, Brian, to be human again, to resist all these elements that are destroying our capacity to be human. Individual isolation is not human, Brian. To be confined, to have distancing from all other people is not human. We must resist all the elements, not only COVID, all the elements that destroy our humanity. And that doesn't mean to be irresponsible, to start kissing everyone again, to start embracing everyone again. Yes, we cannot do that for some time. We cannot kiss each other for some time. I am kissing all the time, Nicole. I am embracing Nicole all the time, but I cannot do that with everyone. I know. I cannot do that with everyone. Yes, that is a limitation, but that means that I cannot be with my friends in Unitierra talking again in our conversation every Wednesday. No, we are back, Brian. We are talking away with our friends. Of course, in our room, that room that you know, we put a chair, an empty chair between every two persons. Yes, we are not touching each other. Yes, that is right. But because we are at 2 or 3 meters of distance from each other, then we can take off the mask. And then we can see each other smiling. Because what you described is not happening. We are not spitting on each other, even if any of us is infected. And of course, as you can imagine, because I am 84 years old, all these young men and women that work in Unitierra and are part of the Unitierra community are taking care of me. And they, if they are infected, they don't want to contaminate me. They are protecting me. But that does not mean if they are at 2 or 3 meters of distance, they can smile and they can talk. And they
So
are
some of the compañeros at Una Tierra, they have had COVID-19?
no, no.
Oh, okay.
My computer is the only one that has. It
Well,
suffered a
yeah,
lot.
I just, I just, yeah, it's a confusing time. And, I just, sometimes these conversations, it's like, I admit I don't know everything, and I don't, uh, try to state that I do, but it just, to me, it makes sense that even if, we're uncertain, that it's better to partake the precautions of the, 6 feet social distancing, the mask in social settings. But You know, I don't know. I don't know. I just know that, uh, you know, people are dying, people are getting sick, and they're not just getting sick, they're dealing with chronic issues even after. And it's not just, you know, people with underlying health conditions. I'm hearing people that are physically fit that
Wait,
are
let me tell you a different story.
right.
We are suffering in Oaxaca the highest rate of diabetes in the country. We have a lot of people with diabetes and a lot of people with obesity, even children with obesity. And this is clearly associated with junk food. And the children are educated to drink Coca-Cola and to have all kind of toxic food and to love sugar and these kind of things. We have been struggling against this for many years without much success. Now, because of COVID, things are happening. And because thanks to COVID, thanks to the blessing of COVID, many communities in Oaxaca closed themselves and established that quarantine. I mentioned this in the first conversation for 40 days. And this quarantine for any person coming from outside, some of them coming back from the US. And then they cannot come into the village, but after the quarantine. But they are closing themselves to all companies and to all the providers of Coca-Cola and all the providers of junk food. And then all the addicts in the village, of course, suffered a lot for a few days because they could not have their addiction. But for the first time, we were able to advance. I can tell you the story of one of these villages discussed this issue for 3 days in the assembly. All of them, even the addicts, discussing if they should close the village or not to Coca-Cola. And after 3 days of discussion, they closed the village. And then I can tell you beautiful, magnificent stories of how many villages are being regenerated, fully regenerated in many different ways, in really very beautiful ways, and laughing together, Brian, taking very seriously the threat. Because they are taking so seriously the threat, they are doing the right things, that is living again, producing their own food. And Brian, perhaps we should discuss why you have this terrible scarcity of yeast in New York.
Scarcity of what? I missed that. Say that again.
Yeast, what you use to produce your bread at home.
Yeast. Okay. Okay.
Scarcity of yeast, a very serious scarcity. And people started to look around in every shop, and no shop, in every shop, they told them, oh, we sold our last amount yesterday. What happened? Why this sudden scarcity? Was a plot of the company selling yeast? No, it was because of thousands of families in New York started to produce bread at home again. That is real motive of celebration, Brian, that the people can produce again their bread at home, something that they stopped many years ago. And that is why the shops had all the time yeast. And suddenly, because thousands of people, it was not a movement. No one announced it, let's produce bread at home. Let's campaign for producing bread at home. That was not, no one was doing that. It was thousands of people, finally millions of people, reacting in this right way, in the same way. Let's cook bread at home. Let's transform eating and cooking and cultivating food. Another a small enterprise in California that has been selling seeds for many years and has thousands and thousands of seeds, trying to sell those seeds in California suddenly had no seats left to serve because thousands of people asked for the seats because they wanted in California to cultivate at home. This is happening. This is happening everywhere. In our communities, people that are coming back from the US because of what is happening with the Mexicans in the US, because they are now back in their communities. And the first thing they do is go to the milpa to sow again, to cultivate again, to use all their expertise and what they learn or what they do to produce food in their own communities and to produce their own food, and how to mix the old milpa of corn, beans, and squash with other vegetables, and to try to regenerate really their diet. That is beautiful. And that is beautiful what the women are doing. And yes, with full responsibility, Brian. Being fully responsible, they are not blind. They are not saying this is irrelevant. They are not saying the virus does not exist. Of course, they have the reflection, oh God, for millions of years we have been living with virus, and virus is part of our body. Virus is part of what is happening with this specific virus, and that is a pertinent question. But it is not to say this is irrelevant, this does not matter. Of course it matters, but it matters in a different way. And it can be the opportunity to laugh, Brian. Yes, because it is very serious, because people are dying. Yes, it is tragic. Many people are suffering a lot. Yes, it is terrible. Then what we need to do is to create a vital option, how to live. Yes, it was Mr. Anselm Happe, a very brilliant German, that have been saying the end of capitalism, this world is not good news, because it's not an opportunity for emancipation, but a fall into a barbaric condition. We are in a barbaric condition, yes.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reason why the Mad Max series was so popular. That kind of dystopian, barbaric world that we could possibly enter into. Yeah,
We have
I
already entered. We entered it, Brian. The fact that half of the people on Earth, half of the people of this planet obeyed passively, immediately, this instruction of confinement is dystopian. Why this obedience? Suddenly, people that resisted the governments, that resisted all, why they obeyed passively this instruction in the planet. It was not in China, it was not, it's everywhere. Why? Without enough information.
you're
When the
you're talking specifically of the COVID mandate to shelter in place and
yes, yes.
well,
Without enough
I
information,
think it's the unknown. I think a lot of people are still trying to. But the thing is, it's complicated because in the United States, the president, the Trump administration, is pretending it doesn't exist. So what does that say? They're not wearing masks at their meetings. They're not practicing social distancing. The only thing that it's like a battle between like the CDC and the Trump administration. You know what I mean? They're at odds. There isn't unity there. The Trump administration isn't saying stay home. They're saying the opposite. They're trying to open up businesses as soon as possible to keep this capitalist machine going.
really,
Yeah.
they are opening, they are keeping the machine working. They destroy the machine, Brian. If you really believe what they are trying to say, what they are saying, what they are trying to do, it is really if they are lying 20 times a day, what you can believe? They can contradict themselves all the time, and Trump excels in that. Trump is superb in lying and contradicting and saying black today and white tomorrow, and or flight 1 hour, white 1 hour later.
No, I'll agree with that. I mean, he is going back and forth, but I mean, in general, the general sense that I'm getting is that they are saying that COVID-19 is not something to be concerned about, you know, and it's only going to affect older adults and with underlying health conditions. And
That is
let's
why they
keep.
are investing so much money in vaccines and disseminating the idea of the vaccines and investing in the possibility and talking that they will be the first and that they will win the Russians. That is why, because why the vaccine if the virus does not exist?
I have not, like I said, I have not heard anything, and I'm in meetings with public health officials, and I have not heard anything about a vaccine on the market yet. So I mean
No,
I don't know.
it is not, and they will not be, and perhaps not in a year.
Yeah,
But they are talking about the vaccine all the time, and they are
right.
giving money, the public money for the vaccines. And it is Bill Gates or Trump talking all the time about the vaccine and the importance of the vaccine, and the World Health Organizations talking about the vaccines. Then why Mr. Trump talks about the vaccines and invest in the vaccines and put millions of dollars in the vaccines if the virus does not exist? This is the kind of things that we need to follow. What is the one speciality of Mr. Trump is to create chaos, to create violence, to provoke violence. What we need to discuss is how Mr. Trump has been so effective in stimulating the civil war again in the United States, and to make evident all this simulated the hidden racism in the American society, and producing the confrontations between the people. The confrontations that you just mentioned, when you were with a group of Black Lives Matter and then some white men attacked you. Yes, that is one specialty. Mr. Trump is provoking that kind of, stimulating that kind of confrontation. That is something happening. They call this polarization, this an euphemism to hide the real. They are creating the enemies in the war between the people that yesterday were friends.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, they're definitely doing a divide and conquer strategy in terms of that. But maybe we should go back to kind of what you were talking about in terms of morality and ethics and kind of the underlying root causes of why we're in the situation that we're in, and it's essentially is a kind of education towards you know individualism, seeking wealth and power, material gain, all those things that have been embedded within, especially within my culture, the United States, of consumerism will bring happiness and that type of mentality, and do whatever it takes. It's only business kind of mentality. So let's kind of go with that. And how do we counteract that type of root cause issue?
One basic point, of course, the eyes are very important for you now. And what was happening in the American society, with most of the Americans, is they were educated to close the eyes, and to close the eye to the tragic conditions of many people, of the poor people, of the black people, of the Latin people, to close the eyes. No, it's not happening. Oh, it is just the white supremacists. It is not happening in our beautiful society, in the society of the American dream. It's not happening. And what is happening today is they have been forced to open their eyes and to see the reality, the kind of society that they created, that it is not as beautiful as they were thinking. And now they need to open their eyes. And what we are discussing is yes, you were educated in individualism, and individual confinement is individualism again. Then the idea is to save yourself, your little body, then you need to be separated from all the rest of humankind, because it can be, you cannot be in contact with anyone to protect your little body. Then that is again individualism. That is the same principle of individualism. What they are trying to exacerbate by creating fear. Your body is now in danger. Then protect your body. And to protect your body now, you need to separate yourselves from anyone. You can only see them through Zoom. That is the only way to be in contact with others, virtual contact. That is what they are creating. Please see Bill Gates, please see what they are planning, to see what they are trying to implement, to create that kind of being that is not human. And this is what we need to resist. We need to create the opposite. Instead of more individualism, we need to dissolve our condition, and we need to affirm strongly. You can believe that you are an individual. You can feel as an individual. You can all your life be working for that individual, but you cannot be an individual if you are really human. You are a knot in a net of relations, and this is what we need to cultivate. The knot of nets of relations. We are relations, relations with others. We need to cultivate our relations with others. That is our task. That is what is important.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that we need to cultivate the relations, but in the context that the way I'm experiencing it is the reason we're wearing masks is not for ourselves, but to protect others. Because most masks, unless they're N95s, which protect the self and others, most masks, the cloth, are only going to stop the droplets from getting out to other people. So it's not. I don't know. I feel like there's a disconnect of.
Yes, and I am telling you that when needed for special circumstances, going outside and going to buy some groceries, I put my mask. I am not an anti-mask, Brian. I don't know why you are confusing one thing with the other.
No. It just. I don't know. I mean, I'll admit, I am scared. I'm scared of, I can't social distance. I'm blind. I don't know how far I am from one person to another, and I can't hear well enough to know if somebody is right next to me. So I can't. It's so hard for me to social distance, and I have family members. I have, my mother and father are older, and I'm concerned about it, and
That is important, Brian. This is one very important point. What COVID demonstrated spectacularly is how we abandoned our old elders, how we left them separated, isolated, dying in a kind of the kind of cemetery that were the old homes for elders, that could be very beautiful, spectacularly beautiful in the outside, but they were most of the time horrible in the inside. And when you see the first scandal in Italy, perhaps you remember this scandal at the beginning. We were at the beginning of COVID in Palermo, when in a house of old people, 250 old people died of COVID. And then they discovered that this specific place with 400 old people was really abandoned, that they were really abandoned, that they were in terrible condition. And you have now all over the world that they are discovering in how terrible conditions they have their elders. Yes, this is just making evident what we did before. And it is great, it is fantastic that now many people are really concerned about what to do with the old people. on how to take care of them and to respect them and to give them the place that always had in all the cultures. The old people were the opportunity for the transmission of the culture from one generation to the next. And the old people were people to listen with respect and to care for them and to love them and to appreciate their experience. And we were not doing that, Brian. We are
No,
doing exactly the opposite.
I know that you know, we have assisted living facilities, and you know that
It's a horror. Then we
people
need
are
to
just
change that.
left there. Yeah, I know, and a lot of them, unless they're $10,000 a month or more, the conditions are super shitty, literally. So,
Super creepy. Yes, yes, yes. And this then the COVID is a fantastic opportunity to change that horrible pattern. We need to change that. This is one of the many things that we need to change. And because now people have the concern that I need to protect my parents, I need to protect my elders, I need to protect the old people, old, all old people, that is very good news. That is fantastic news. That's a very good thing. That is a thing to be happy about. Yes, let's take care of the old people. Let's do something about old people. And if that means because they are old, then even I will come to visit them with my mask, and I will to be try to be very careful to avoid the possibility of bringing to them the virus. Great, fantastic, very good. But visiting them, not abandoning them,
no, I understand what you're
not
saying.
putting them in a prison. That is the point. And then let's use the opportunity, yes, to change the many things that we were doing wrong, and we were blind about them. We were denying them. We were saying they did not exist. We are having we are what was the dominant image among the people about the American society, Brian? That it was the best society ever existed. That was the thing closest to paradise. Yes, that was the dominant image. And every time any of us were saying something that was, that is marginal, that is, yes, it happens, but this is not the reality of the American society. Now you have the real picture. Now you are seeing the real picture. Now you have the real society that you have. And you don't know what to do. I am here all the time, people discussing what to do from here to November.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as I said in the last episode, you know, George Carlin made it. I think I said it. I don't know. Can't fucking remember anything. But George Carlin, you know, said it's called the American Dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. And I know I was asleep for at least most of my life,
Yes, and then
and we're
wake
waking up
many
to
people.
a nightmare, going
Yes,
from a dream to a nightmare.
and then yes, that is a very good image. Yes, from a dream to a nightmare, and then in the nightmare you wake up and you begin to see, and you can see the horror and also the beautiful things, because beautiful things are also happening in your society.
Let's talk about those beautiful things.
For example, the many examples of solidarity, how the people are organizing themselves, for example, to give food to the people that have no food now. And how the people, do you know really about the regeneration of uh, public gardens to cultivate food?
Yes, yes, and that's one of the things that I'm working on now with a local group called Cooperation Nevada County.
That is
Yeah,
fantastic. That is
yeah.
beautiful.
We're
That is,
starting up trying to do, you know, basically turning lawns into garden beds or raised beds, and then also doing a separate project of doing food pantries. And this has been going on for a long time. I know you know this. So, but
You know the story about the Victory Gardens?
yeah, during World War II, yeah.
Yes, and then it was so successful that FBI decided to close them, to cancel them, because they have the seeds of communism for the beautiful American society. And
Growing
then,
your own food, huh? That
yeah,
was
that is communism. And growing your own food and using public gardens to give food for free, that was criminal behavior for Mr. Hoover. That was the seed of communism. How you will give food for free to people? That is not possible. That is not fair. That is not American. And that was America. And now in those same places, I can mention some. In those same places of the Victory Gardens, they are creating community gardens to give food for free. And I know places in Oakland and San Francisco, Brian. It's not in the middle of the desert. It is in I am mentioning some of the richest places on earth, and that you have in California. Some of them, yes.
well,
It is happening.
let's get this. Let's get to what the heart of what you're talking about is. I want to know, what is it in terms of a philosophy or a paradigm, what is it that we need mentally to be prepared to do what it is right to create a more sustainable, just, loving, and peaceful world? What are the things that we
Yes,
need to do in terms of preparing our own minds? Because that's the first place to start. Is,
and
like Gandhi said, be the change that we wish to see in the world, but that's got to start with a thought.
and you mentioned clearly, you put in the first your first critique was individualism. Yes. Then instead of cultivating individualism, I will protect myself from the virus. Yes, the very moment you say, I am using the mask to protect others, not to protect myself, yes, that is the principle. You are formulating the philosophical principle. My main concern should be the other. That is human. That is the human principle. Humanity, you can see individual behavior that is basically inhuman.
Where did we go? Where the hell did we go wrong in our history that, I mean, the ideal of this sociopathic like ideology, which is essentially what capitalism is this sociopathic ideology. And like Jeffrey Epstein, the reason I'm bringing it up, because I just watched it the other day, is this documentary about, Jeffrey Epstein is a billionaire, who basically raped young girls, and on a like basically systematic pyramid scheme basis, right? And I don't even know how he had time to do anything other than rape, because that's all he fucking did was rape underage girls. And like, and that type of person, I mean, he was idealized for his wealth. I mean, he was connected to Bill Clinton, Woody Allen, Alan Dershowitz, and so many well-known people. And yet, our society idealizes that, that billionaire as the is the new type of I don't know, just being like the king of your own destiny. And that's been idealized for a long time. And I don't know where we went wrong. I mean, I know it's kind of like a cyclical thing, going from feudalism and, idealizing the king. And then we made a switch to not idealizing the king, but idealizing the king within ourselves.
And
And
it is an old story, yes. And it is why many people are saying, exactly because of the story that you just told, that is why many people are saying Trump is not the disease, but the symptom of the disease.
Right.
And it's a disease that we all share because we all have that individualism and what had obsession with greed, and greed is good, and greed is the best we can have, and this is the construction of a good society. This is a very, very, very stupid and irrelevant argument, but adopted as the general truth and the principle of behavior. Yes, that is what we need to abandon. And Ivan Illich said that the whole thing started in the 12th century with the creation, the invention of the text. But the idea of the individual, the individual was still encoded for many centuries in a religious cosmos. Because again, think really in religious terms, you need to take care of your individual soul. What is this? Most people in Oaxaca, most indigenous people will tell you they are Catholics, but they can be excommunicated by the Pope if they see inside their souls, because they cannot conceive anything like an individual soul. No soul is individual. And that was a religious education, that you need to take care of the individual soul and create the police inside yourself to have the police really taking care for you to avoid committing a sin that will affect that individual soul, because that individual soul will go to heaven. That this kind of education that was for centuries, and that was used by those that created capitalism in the 17th, 18th century. With that religious cosmos, they were able to transform that religious individual into something else that was the capitalist individual. Here I can bring Illich again, because you know what for Illich was the main message of Christ. When Christ is asked, who is your neighbor? Who is your friend? Who is your proxy? And he tells the story of the Good Samaritan. The story of the Good Samaritan is this guy that for the first time in registered history trespass the limit of his clan, his group, his religious group, or his cultural group. And out of love, because of compassion, he takes care of the guy in the side of the road, the guy that is dying. And that means that you choose your neighbor with love. And then what Illich, that knew something about that, what Illich is saying is that the main message of Christ, the message of the religion in the Christian tradition, is caring for the other, not for yourself. That is the message of Christ for Illich. And this is the point that we have been discussing all the time in our conversation today. The main point today, before COVID, is how I can take care of the other, not of myself. No nuda vida, as Agamben says, not just my body, but my loved ones, and how I can love others because I choose to love them.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is struggling. You know, she has so many friends in Oakland that she misses so much, and you know, she feels like she needs to be connected to them. And with this, you know, she's concerned. You know, and they are too, because you know, it's how do we connect with each other in an
It
era of disconnection,
is
extreme
you have
disconnection?
imagination and conditions. You have the conditions. We are creating the conditions here in Oaxaca. We are in a very poor condition. We are among the classified as the poorest state in the country. And with these very limited conditions, we find the ways with very limited means to have interaction with each other. And it is amazing, these women, they are preparing something. You will see at the end of the month, we will be talking about what they did. In the same way we discussed what they did in March 8th with COVID already. That was fantastic. That was really breaking the so-called patriarchal normality. They really broke it in March 8th. They are preparing things and they are being together and celebrating and dancing. The other day they told me I cannot come in because it is only for women. They told me that inside Unitierra, they were dancing around the place in Unitierra without contaminating each other, without being irresponsible. That is a call for our imagination. How Rachel can see her friends, not just through Zoom, not virtually, but physically in person, without assuming wrongly a risk. How we can take care of the others, interacting with them. How can see them smile? Not right now. I am seeing you smiling. You are seeing me smiling, but this is virtual. How we can?
I can't see you smiling, but I can hear it.
Yes, that, I know. Sorry. Well, how can we organize ourselves in a way that we can again be with each other and interact with the others in presence, personally, not like your irresponsible neighbor that organized that big party of all the rich people in your community. That was irresponsibility. That was blindness of the other kind, moral blindness. That was terrible. That is not what I'm suggesting. What many people are suggesting, abandoning, yes, treating the others like nothing.
Let me ask you this, and I think this would be a good place to kind of begin the conversation in terms of where we go from here. We talked a little bit about individualism, but there's something that you have always mentioned to me is that Foucault quote of we must rid the fascist within our minds, right?
Yes.
We must get rid of the desire to be ruled by others.
Exactly. That is
And
the principle. That is the point, Brian. Exactly. What is this desire of being ruled by others? And that is a very beautiful American tradition.
to rule others.
No, to be to the tradition of creating your own norms, not individual norms like the libertarians, but instead of accepting imposed norms, instead that Trump or the World Health Organization or anyone tell you what to do. It is with a group of friends you create your own norms. That is autonomy, and that is human autonomy.
But how do you separate that? Okay, I understand what you're saying. So if like a community, like let's say the Zapatistas, they have created their own model for dealing specifically, let's just use COVID-19 because that seems to be the theme. They've used their own, they've created their own structure or protocols for dealing with COVID-19. So they close the community. They have a system of quarantining people who come in and out. I get that, but there's also the idea of that we're all interconnected, and going back to that idea of that there is no individual soul, that we're all connected somehow, and every action has an equal or opposite reaction. And so how do you separate, okay, we are going to create our own rules without affecting the outside world? Because especially with this globalization and people traveling everywhere, and they're still doing it, how do we how do you do that? How does that look like in
For
terms of?
example, in practical ways, because these should be not general principles, but practical ways in every place is different. Let me mention Jaltepec de Cantoyoc is a beautiful village in the northern Sierra of Oaxaca. It's Mije, and they took a decision. They are closed, but there are some people that need to go to some villages, to other villages, to buy things, to sell things for many different purposes. Then when they go outside, they are very well prepared with very special masks, very good masks that protect them, the eyes and the nose and the mouth. And they do very well. They are very careful in their activities when they go to these markets and to these other places where they need to do some things. When they come back, they have a special place where they take a full bath for many minutes. They take off all the clothes, and all the clothes go to being washed with a lot of precautions. And then they are totally naked, and then with a good solid bath, they take off all the virus they could capture in their trip, and then they put new clothes, and then they can go outside without a mask because they are clean now. They are totally clean. If any of them are infected, they have the way to have a distance of the others. They can live their life in the community, protecting the elders, protecting the vulnerable people. They have a lot of decent, very decent rules to be careful inside the community and to protect themselves from outside. Those are in every place will be different.
Right.
In your community will be different that in Oakland. It's
Well, let's talk about now using this opportunity, like of COVID-19 and the crisis that we're in, to create a different type of world, or a world what the Zapatistas call the world where many worlds are embraced. How do we begin that process?
it is the scale. I think that you are in the right place because you are thinking now in your community. If one way of and nourishing the fascists that we have inside is if you want to take care of the United States or the planet. That is foolish, Brian. But you can take care of your community and you can try to construct something different in your community. And this is exactly what you are trying to do with your friends, with your meetings, with the Humboldt Corporation, with this kind of experiments. It is trying to create something in which you as a person can do something. In which
What
no one
Gustavo just mentioned, just for clarification, is Cooperation Humboldt, and there's also Cooperation Jackson in Mississippi. Cooperation Humboldt is in Northern California,
yes,
and it's based on the solidarity economy model, or it's also related to the transition U.S. model, which is a post fossil fuel paradigm. And so if you are not familiar, that's what the basis of that is. So if you want to look up Cooperation Humboldt. They have a great website, a lot of great resources, Cooperation Jackson as well. So anyway,
yes,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gustavo.
but it's trying to avoid the model, meaning it's not trying to implement the model of Cooperation Humboldt everywhere. They were great and they are great, and I know that they are doing great things, but that is one experience. It's not the model. Let's try to avoid all kind of models. All these experiences, like the Zapatistas or Cooperation Humboldt, are sources of inspiration. We can be inspired by them, but we create our own thing that will be different in your own place. And you start with 5 people, and then perhaps they have other 5 people, and they start other things, and then you start always in a small scale, not big. Our problem was to lose sense of proportion and to pretend that we are who, people that we are not. If you think in how to handle the situation for 300 million people, you need a boss.
You
You
need
need
a what? I'm sorry, what?
a boss, someone imposing the rules on the 300 million
Right.
people.
Yeah, causing a hierarchical,
Yes.
oppressive system. Yeah, I hear you.
Cannot really take care of these dimensions that are collapsing because there is no longer anything that you can really call the United States or Mexico. They were constructed in a certain way 200 years ago. They were something. Today, it is nothing real. A third of the Mexicans live today outside of Mexico. What is Mexico today? Are we excluding a third of the Mexicans, of the people born in Mexico? And some of them are living in Japan or the Middle East. Many of them are living in the United States. Many of them are living in California, but many of them living very, very far away. Um, are they Mexico, or they are no longer Mexico because they are not living here? What is Mexico today? It's a ghost. What is the United States today? It's a ghost.
What do you feel is, and I know we're running limited on time, but what do you feel it in your community? What is the most beautiful thing that you see as a kind of seed for change, that if this continues, we are going to create a different type of life for your community?
In our case, because of the special condition of Oaxaca, the most important, the real seed for change, is the current role of women. Our society, as you know, Brian, was of the worst kind of patriarchy, was really with a kind of machismo that was absolutely horrible. The oppression of women, when you had in the work communities the combination of all patriarchy and modern sexism, you have a situation like hell. And then to see the current position of women, the dignity of women, the courage of women, um, because historically the women have been always caring for life. They give life, they reproduce life, and they also care for life. That has been traditionally, historically, the role of women. And they, because the women are seeing what we men have done to this planet, what we have been doing and are doing today to this planet. Now, to save life, to save at the end humankind, they are reacting and they are taking decisions and positions, and with a lot of courage, they are doing a lot of things. What I am seeing in my village, it is a new position for the women, a centrality of women that they did not have before. And finally, not they don't get the recognition by all men. Yes, because of the mobilizations of the women, we have more femicides than ever, meaning some men are reacting with violence and killing the women. Yes, we are confronting that. But at the same time, we are seeing the promise of a different kind of world. If we eliminate hierarchy and we recognize the centrality of the care for life as the main principle of social organization, then we are giving back to women centrality. Not hierarchy, they are not the new bosses. They are now
I don't
centered.
know. Rachel's would say she's the boss, so I kind of follow that rule. My wife is the boss.
Your wife, I know her. She is the center. She is the brilliant center of your life. But it is the different to have a hierarchical boss. You have a boss in your work. That is a different kind of thing. When you obey Rachel, you really enjoy a lot obeying her. And when you obey your boss in your office, that is not really a pleasure or a joy. That is really different. When you obey the instructions of your government, that is not a pleasure. That's not a joy. That is different because the Rachel is expressing in giving you an instruction, quote unquote, she's expressing her love. That's not the
That's
case.
true. And one of the things that I said, I think in the last interview was that, you know, she was really, you and her actually were the catalyst for me coming to this place so late in life too. I'm 42 now, of loving beyond my fears. And this is, it's so strange that this is happening so late to begin this process, that it took me this fucking long to get to this place of understanding what it means to love beyond my fears. And I've only just scratched the surface of beginning to really understand what that means. And it's been beautiful. It's been very painful, but also very beautiful.
And that is the point, you know, Brian, that you have now half my age. I am 84, you are 42. And that means that because you discovered how to love beyond your fear, you have the opportunity to have your life living in that way. That is the beautiful thing of it.
You know, in thinking about this, I just feel like so many of us are in this place, and many Americans, I think, feel this way. And I noticed a parallel with our mutual friend that lives in Teotitlan de Valle. She
Yes,
creates zapetes, the
yes,
you know the rugs, for those that aren't familiar. One of the zapetes that she made, am I pronouncing that correctly?
tapetes, tapetes.
Zapetes, okay. Um, and so it's like a mural basically, and if I remember correctly, in the background there's a Zapotec temple, and there's a snake coming out of it, and
Yes,
then it kind of weaving through the village, and then there's like in the foreground there's power lines going through it. And the way she described it, the snake represents the, I guess the mythology is that if anybody who sees the snake in the village, they will have a long life if they see the snake. And the idea, I think, between you have in the background the old world, the Zapotec temple, and then you have the power lines running through it, is the modern industrialized world. And she, the way she described it to me, was being caught between two worlds, of the old world of the indigenous way of life, the Zapotec way of living, and then the modern world being imposed upon it. And it's called Dos Mundos, meaning two worlds, being caught between two worlds. And I think Americans, you know, for myself, it's a little bit different in the sense that, you know, a lot of our history has been erased, you know, way back in Europe, and you know, whether it be the Spanish Inquisition or whatever. So those kind of tribal roots that were in Europe have been erased and replaced. And then our own history, like my own, I don't know anything about my family at all, really. My grandfathers, I know a little bit, but beyond that, I really don't know. And that kind of lineage has been lost. That like knowledge and ancestral knowledge has been lost. And I'm in a place where not only I don't feel like I belong in this industrialized capitalist world, on the other hand, I don't know what my place is in a new paradigm that is different because of my disability, and you know, because it seems like the new paradigm of growing your own food, you know, being autonomous is different, and I don't know where my place is there either exactly, and I'm still trying to understand that. So I think many Americans are struggling between the loss of capitalism and the comforts that it brings, you know, and the convenience. I think a lot of it is just fucking convenient, just because it's, you know, the stress of everything. You just want that convenience to have something that's not miserable, or oppressive or whatever. So I don't know. It's an odd place to be, and all I want to do, and I've been trying to do this for a long time, is find a way. I tried to grow food, and then I experienced that horrible, you know, loss of trees, and I spent my time, the remaining eyesight, cutting down all those trees in Central California that I mentioned earlier. You know, and it's just such an odd place to be. But how do we find that hope to continue forward? Because I told you this. I told you before we did this interview, I was feeling completely depressed because I came to the realization recently. I was just like, here I am. And I haven't had this severe realization. I've had like little mini kind of realizations throughout, you know, my loss of my eyesight and hearing. But I came to this realization. I'm sitting here and I'm working and I'm depressed. And I'm like, I'm depressed because I realized what I don't want to be doing. And I knew this a long time ago to some degree, but now I really realize it, because I realized that all I wanted to do is act and do comedy and do all these things that are related to the arts. And I felt like, here I am, 42, and it's almost too late. I'm so separated. I'm so far away from that world, you know? And how can I use, you know, I'm so fucking rusty. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. And I'm trying to also simultaneously be the change that I wish to see in the world by trying to growing my own food, helping others do the same, and you know, being autonomous and creating a truly loving, compassionate society that is not based on exploitation and oppression. How do we do that?
And then it is clear that this is a kind of provocation to open, at the end of our conversation, to open a third conversation, because what we are not doing, it is the critique of the industrial mode of production. It's not really capitalism, but it is really the industrial mode of production. And it is not an invitation to come back to the Stone Age. It is a discussion of how inconvenient is your convenience, uh, how miserable your life can be because of that convenience. Just in our conversation last time in Unitierra, there was a woman that started the conversation saying, well, at the beginning, 6 months ago in January, I was extremely concerned because my salary was not enough to buy all the things that I needed to live. And then I was thinking what I will do because my salary is not enough. What can I do to increase my salary or to increase my income one way or the other? Now, she said, 5 months after COVID, now I know that my salary is more than enough for all the things that I really need. I was able to abandon a lot of stupid things that I thought that I needed, but of course, I did not need. It was convenience. It was good to have them, but it was not convenient uh, at all, Brian. That is something that we can discuss next time. How one of the secrets is how to live a really joyful life, beautiful life, without so much convenience that are not convenient.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said. I know from my own experience that I did work on a farm for a season, and it was hard work. It was you know, it was difficult work, but it was so fulfilling. I mean, just to be able to have, you know, my hands in the soil and to see things grow and to be out in the sun and to feel like alive, to feel like really connected to this life that is just growing right before my feet. And not only that, but the conversations that I had with other people I was working with, they were so uh, just honest and you know, vulnerable and filled with love, because there weren't distractions. Our phones wouldn't work out there, you know. because of
And
where the location was. So there
how,
wasn't like, oh, I got a text, I got to check this, you know, that Pavlovian response to these fucking devices. And which, you know, it's such an irony. Me, I don't want to use these devices. I don't want to use a phone, you know, and yet I have to because of my disability. You know, I otherwise I'm completely isolated. You know, and it's the irony of that it sometimes drives me fucking nuts because I'm like, why am I in this existence where I really just want to live in harmony with the earth and other living beings, yet I'm still forced to you know, use this technology. And I mean, I guess I'm not forced. I guess I could give it up, but giving it up, I mean, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. You know what I
that is
mean?
that is something that we can add to the conversation, but we are at the end of the conversation, Brian, not at the beginning.
All right. Well, listen. Let's continue this in another part 3. And for those that are listening, thank you so much for listening and watching. You can follow us on YouTube, The Blind Man in Black, or you can go to Apple Podcast and listen to The Blind Man in Black. And you can go to the website, blindmaninblack.com. And thank you for being patient with my fact that I haven't done this in so long and trying to come back and reconnect in a way that I can express and share this beautiful friendship with my friend. So yeah, Gustavo, I think you're going to have to end the recording because I think I
Yes,
handed over host
I am
rights to
now.
you. So
No, I am ready
thank
to do that. As soon as you tell me do that, I will do that.
as soon as what?
As soon as you tell me to stop recording, I will do that.
Okay. So thank you everybody for listening. Once again, this is the Blind Man in Black. You can follow us on blindmaninblack.com. And thank you once again, and we will reconnect soon. Go ahead, Gustavo.
Bye.
Thank you.